Hey, welcome back. The Switch 2 has been out for a little while now, and honestly, the library is filled with some incredible single-player experiences. Today, I'm running down the top 20 best ones you should have on your radar right now in 2026. Let's get into it. Blueprints is a weird one to explain, but stick with me. You play as Simon, a young man who inherits a 45-room estate from his late granduncle, but the catch is, you only get it if you can find the mysterious 46th room that's never been found. Every single day, the manor rearranges itself. Rooms shuffle around, layouts change, and you have to draft which rooms appear behind each door as you explore. It's part puzzle game, part roguelike, and it's built around a first-person perspective as you walk through this creaky, atmospheric manor piecing things together. You collect keys, gems, coins, and all kinds of objects that interact with the rooms in ways you figure out slowly. The story unfolds entirely through scattered notes you find around the house. No NPCs guiding you, just fragments of history that stack up into something much bigger than it first appears. The loop sounds simple, but the depth is genuinely staggering. Imagine Doom, but set in a 1930s cartoon city full of mice. And you've got the general vibe of mouse PI for hire. You play as Jack Pepper, a war veteran turned private detective in Mouseburg, a city drowning in corruption, gang activity, and a cheese-abition that has the whole place on edge. What starts as a missing persons case spirals into something much bigger involving crooked politicians and organized crime. The gameplay is a boomer-style first-person shooter. With a twist, it pulls in immersive sim elements, so you have real freedom in how you approach encounters. The arsenal of cartoon-style weapons is a blast, and Jack is voiced by Troy Baker, who absolutely nails the hard-boiled detective energy. The rubber hose animation style is hand-drawn frame by frame and looks absolutely stunning in motion. The game runs about 11 hours for the main story, and every environment you walk through feels like you stepped into an animated noir film from another era. Machine Games, the studio behind the modern Wolfenstein games, made an Indiana Jones game, and it absolutely nails what makes Indy so good. Set in 1937 between Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade, you play as Dr. Jones, investigating a global mystery tied to ancient sites that form a perfect circle on the globe. A single break-in at Marshall College kicks off a globe-trotting adventure that takes you to the Vatican, Egypt, Sukhothai, the Himalayas, and more. The game is played in first person for most of it, which sounds odd for indie, but actually makes you feel like you're living the role. You use the whip constantly, not just as a weapon, but to swing, scale walls, disarm enemies, and solve puzzles. Combat mixes stealth, brawling, and gunplay. The open areas are packed with side mysteries and treasure hunts. The story is written with real respect for the character, with the cast delivering genuinely excellent performances. The creators of Vampire Survivors took their snowballing chaos and turned it into a turn-based deck-building dungeon crawler. Yeah, it's a lot. You pick a crawler, each with their own starting deck and playstyle, and descend through multi-floor dungeons full of enemies, chests, and bosses. The core combat hook is playing cards in ascending mana order to trigger combo chains that keep multiplying. Use a Wildcard to extend the combo, and the numbers can spiral into the absurd. The same power fantasy that made Vampire Survivors so satisfying, just completely reimagined in a turn-based format. The dungeons have actual walls, secrets to find, and a shovel that lets you dig to the next floor. Between runs, you visit a village to buy persistent upgrades that carry forward. Layers of progression unlock slowly, and builds can get genuinely creative. You can modify individual cards with special traits that completely change how combos flow.
To explore maps, to find treasures, to love, to shine, and there isn't it.
If you ever wanted the best version of Final Fantasy Tactics, this is it. The Ivalice Chronicles is a full restoration of the 1997 classic, now with completely redone visuals, full voice acting, a reworked script, and quality of life improvements that make everything feel much cleaner to navigate. The story follows Ramza Bouv, a young nobleman from a powerful military family, as he gets caught up in a brutal civil war called the War of the Lions. His best friend Delita, a commoner he grew up with, walks a very different path. The story is genuinely one of the best in RPG history. Political betrayal, class warfare, religious corruption, the whole thing still hits hard nearly 3 decades later. Gameplay is classic grid-based tactical combat, where terrain and turn order matter just as much as your builds. The job system has over 20 classes that can be mixed and matched, and once you unlock an ability in one job, you can equip it in another. Ys 10. Proud Nordics is the definitive version of Ys 10, Falcom's action RPG that launched in 2023. The Switch 2 release is the most complete package, bringing new content, new mechanics, and improved performance, including up to 120 frames per second in performance mode. You play as Adol Kristen, the series' iconic red-haired adventurer, who gets into a clash at sea and ends up magically bound to Karja, a proud Norman warrior, by shackles of mana. The two have to fight together against a relentless undead horde called the Grieger while navigating the seafaring culture of the Norman people. Combat is fast and aggressive. You control both characters and switch between them on the fly, combining their abilities for chained attacks. This version adds an entirely new storyline set on Oland Island, featuring two new shield siblings named Canute and Astrid, plus a new mana hold ability that lets you interact with the world in new ways. And Muspelheim, a brutal time trial dungeon for the hardcore players. Trails in the Sky First Chapter is a full 3D remake of what many consider the foundation of the greatest JRPG series ever made. You play as Estelle Bracer, a cheerful and stubborn young woman training to become a licensed bracer, basically a guild of adventurers who help the people of the Kingdom of Liberl. Alongside her is Joshua, her calm and mysterious adoptive brother. When their father disappears under strange circumstances, what starts as a routine training journey turns into something much bigger, involving a secret organization and the fate of the kingdom. The combat is a hybrid system, with real-time field encounters that flow into turn-based battles, and each character's crafts and elemental arts are animated dynamically in this new version. The world feels genuinely alive. Every town has people with their own lives, routines, and opinions that evolve as the story progresses. Six years in the making, Pragmata finally arrived, and it was worth the wait. It's Capcom's brand new IPA sci-fi action-adventure set on the moon. You play as Hugh Williams, an astronaut whose investigation team goes dark on a lunar research station. After a moonquake separates him from the team, he's saved by Diana, a young android girl wandering the facility alone. Together, they have to fight through a station controlled by a hostile AI called ID-Use, working their way toward a way back to Earth. The gameplay is built around a dual control system. Diana rides on Hugh's back and handles hacking, while you also control Hugh's movement, aiming, and shooting simultaneously. Enemy robots have armor that can't be pierced by bullets, so Diana hacks their defenses to expose weak points that Hugh can blast. Hacking is a grid-based routing puzzle you solve in real time while bullets are flying.
It's on now! Take this!
Mio is a Metroidvania from a small French studio that built their own engine just for this game, and the results are stunning. You play as Mio, a small robot who wakes up alone on the Vessel, a massive spaceship drifting through space, once maintained by AI caretakers called the Pearls. The Pearls have stopped functioning, the ship is overrun by rogue machines and overgrown vegetation, and shutdown is imminent. Mio has to explore the labyrinthine interior, fight off more than 30 enemy types and 15 boss guardians, restore the ship's lost memories, and uncover the truth about what happened and what Mio actually is. The visuals are inspired by comics, painting, and anime, and look unlike anything else on the platform. Movement is fluid and satisfying. You unlock a grappling hook, air glide, wall cling, decoy clones, and projectile orbs over time.
Will you give back?
Cloud Strife and the gang are finally on Nintendo hardware, and it looks and plays incredibly well. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade reimagines the opening chapter of Final Fantasy VII, the iconic story of ex-soldier turned mercenary Cloud joining the eco-terrorist group Avalanche as they fight against the Shinra Electric Power Company, a mega-corporation draining the planet's life energy. What starts as a simple bombing mission evolves into something far more complex and personal as the true scale of Shinra's plans becomes clear. The combat is an action RPG system where you attack in real time but pause to queue up abilities and magic with the ATB gauge. It blends the speed of an action game with the strategic depth of the classic. This Switch 2 version includes the Intermission DLC starring Yuffie Kisaragi, a stealthy Wutai ninja with her own chapter set during the main game's events. The port looks excellent and runs at 30 frames per second. Yakuza 0 is many people's favorite game in the entire Like a Dragon series, and the director's cut is the best version of it. Set in 1988, during the height of Japan's economic bubble, you alternate between two protagonists, young Yakuza Kazuma Kiryu, who gets framed for a murder he didn't commit, and cabaret club manager Goro Majima, a man trying to stay out of trouble while the world keeps pulling him back in. Both are fighting to survive in a world full of criminal politics, loyalty, and betrayal, and both stories converge in ways that are deeply satisfying. The combat is a brawler, where each character has 3 fighting styles you unlock and upgrade, buying skills using in-game money, which fits the 80s capitalist excess theme perfectly. The director's cut adds over 25 minutes of new cutscenes, an English dub for the first time, and a new red light raid battle mode. Playing Cyberpunk 2077 on a handheld device would have sounded like a joke a few years ago, but CD Projekt Red pulled it off, and it's one of the most impressive technical accomplishments on Switch 2. You play as V, a customizable mercenary in Night City, a neon-drenched dystopian megalopolis driven by corporate greed and body modification culture. After a heist goes catastrophically wrong, V ends up with a relic in their head containing the digital ghost of legendary rocker boy Johnny Silverhand, and the two of them have to navigate Night City to find a way to separate before V's mind is erased. The world is massive and completely open. You can approach almost every situation with stealth, guns, hacking, or a combination of all 3. The character builds are deep, the side quests are as good as the main story, and the Phantom Liberty expansion adds a full spy thriller arc set in a restricted corporate district. Square Enix completed the Erdrick Trilogy HD 2D collection by bringing the first 2 Dragon Quest games into the modern era, packaged together in one release. Dragon Quest I follows a lone hero descended from the legendary warrior Erdrick, sent to defeat the Dragon Lord who has seized a sacred orb and unleashed monsters across the land of Alefgard. Dragon Quest II picks up generations later as 3 royal descendants of that hero, including a brand new character added exclusively for this version, the Princess of Canik, band together against a powerful sorcerer. Both games are fully rebuilt with the gorgeous HD 2D visual style, but the team went far beyond a visual coat of paint. New story scenarios, dungeons, boss fights, underwater environments, and a completely new minigame system were added to flesh both games out significantly. The classic turn-based combat has been enhanced, and a new sigil system adds build depth. If you've ever wanted to raise monsters instead of hunt them, Monster Hunter Stories 3 is your game. The third entry in Capcom's RPG spin-off series, Twisted Reflection, sets up an incredible premise. 2 nations, Azuria and Vermeil, are being destroyed by a catastrophic event called the Crystal Encroachment that is wiping out entire monster species. When a mysterious egg hatches twin Rathalos, bearing an ancient mark tied to a catastrophic civil war from 200 years ago, it becomes clear the crisis is much bigger than anyone suspected. You play as the heir of Azuria, and you team up with Eleanor, the princess of the rival nation. Together, you raise and battle alongside monsties, monsters you hatch from eggs and bond with. Combat is a turn-based rock-paper-scissors system where you pick power, speed, or technical attacks to counter enemies. The new Synchro Rush system lets you chain attacks with your monstie for devastating follow-ups. Dragon Quest VII Reimagined is one of the most ambitious JRPGs to hit Switch 2 in 2026. You play as a young fisherman's son living on Estard, an island that seems to be the only land left in the world. After discovering an ancient shrine with your childhood friends, you're thrown back through time and learn that other islands are being sealed away by a powerful evil force. And it's your job to travel to each one across different eras of history, break the seal, restore the island, and move on to the next. Every island you visit is basically a self-contained story, with its own characters, culture, and tragedy. The remake brings the whole thing into a beautiful diorama art style, using Akira Toriyama's iconic character designs, with streamlined pacing that cuts the filler while keeping everything that made the original great. A new moonlighting system lets you equip 2 vocations simultaneously, adding extra build flexibility to the already deep class system.
Thank you.
Nobody expected the best Pokémon game in years to be one where you play as a Ditto disguised as a human. But here we are. Pokémon Pokopia is part life sim, part base builder, part adventure game. You wake up as a Ditto who has transformed into a human shape and has to figure out how to fit into a world of Pokémon. By befriending different Pokémon species, you learn their abilities and use them to shape the world around you. Using Bulbasaur's leafage to grow grass, Squirtle's water gun to water crops, Hitmonchan's punches to shape terrain, and so on. The more Pokémon you befriend and bring into your growing settlement, the more tools and possibilities open up. The mystery of where all the humans went hangs over the whole experience and gives the game a surprisingly emotional narrative backbone. It's the highest-rated Pokémon game since Legends Arceus, sitting at 90 on Metacritic, and it completely nails the cozy but substantial feel that Pokémon fans have been craving. Planet of Lana II is one of the most visually stunning games on the Switch 2. The sequel to the 2023 indie hit takes Lana and her cat-like companion Mui back to the planet Novo, where a conflict between tribal factions over technology and power is threatening to tear everything apart. Lana is older now, more agile, and the game gives her wall jumps, run slides, and faster overall movement that make traversal feel fantastic. The puzzles are more ambitious too, physics-based challenges, hypnotizing large creatures, and controlling hybrid robots as part of solutions. Stealth segments are more refined. The whole game almost doubles the size of the first, taking you through snowy mountains, underwater chapters, and encounters with completely new creatures and communities. There's no spoken dialogue. Storytelling is done entirely through visuals, music, and how you interact with the world. Octopath Traveler 0 is a prequel, set in the world of Orstera, and it's the most ambitious entry in the series yet. For the first time, you create your own protagonist and take them through a story of restoration and revenge. Your hometown of Wishvale was burned to the ground by villains, and you're going to rebuild it and make them pay. The classic HD 2D visuals are as gorgeous as ever. The break and boost turn-based combat system is as satisfying as it's ever been. And the base building mechanic, where you restore Wishvale and recruit over 30 characters to live and fight there, adds a completely new layer to the formula. Characters are split into offensive and defensive rows in combat, and you can swap them during battles. Path Actions, the system that lets you interact with NPCs in unique ways depending on your current class, returns, and feels even more fleshed out.
Press the attack.
Now or never. I summon thee, Elfric!
Resident Evil Requiem is the 9th mainline entry in the series, and it's one of the best in years. You get 2 protagonists, Grace Ashcroft, an FBI analyst and new character to the series, and Leon S. Kennedy, who needs no introduction. Their stories are interwoven and eventually converge as they each uncover different pieces of a conspiracy tied back to the Raccoon City incident that defined the entire RE universe. Grace's sections lean into classic survival horror, careful resource management, investigations, tight encounters, and real tension. Leon's sections are more action-forward. You can switch between first and third-person perspective at any point in the game, which lets you tailor the experience to how you like to play. The game sold over 6 million copies in its first weeks across all platforms, the fastest-selling RE game ever, and the Switch 2 version is a great way to experience it. Donkey Kong Bananza. DK's first fully 3D adventure since Donkey Kong 64, over 25 years ago, sees him swept underground after the villainous Void Company steals golden bananas from Ingot Isle. Deep underground, he meets Pauline, a 13-year-old girl with a voice powerful enough to blast through rock and grant DK incredible transformations. Together, they fight toward the legendary Planet Core, said to grant any wish, before Void Company's ruthless leader, Void Kong, can reach it. The core mechanic is destruction. DK can punch through almost every surface, rip chunks of terrain off to throw as weapons, dig tunnels with his fists, and carve his way through entire levels. The underground world is built in layers. Each layer has its own ecosystem, inhabitants, biomes, and secrets to uncover. Pauline's Bananza powers transform DK into different forms. Kong Bananza for raw power, Zebra Bananza for speed, Ostrich Bananza for flight and egg bombs, and more.
Look at some of the things this Kong can do. Punch. Smash enemies. Walls. The ground.
20 games, every single one worth your time. The Switch 2 library in 2026 has been incredible across every genre, and we're not even done with the year yet. Drop a comment below and let me know which one you're playing right now. Like the video if it helped, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. See you then.